This is the complete story series brought to you by Team Comicstorian. It's the most epic way to recap your favorite storylines with music, voices, and sound effects, but we highly recommend picking up your favorites as we do leave out some of the plot points to allow for a speedy recap. For those of you who have been on this channel for a while, you know that we've been doing Sunday Venom stories. Well, it is time for us to move to the weird portion of those stories, the Space Knight adventures, when he was with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, to understand what's happening here, you'll need to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy tie-in, The Origin of the Clintar, which gives a true origin to the symbiotes. Long story short, they're guardians of space, not evil monsters. And if you want to know the story behind what happened to Venom before meeting Flash, you might want to watch that video. I'll link it down below along with the first issue of Space Knight, which we did a long time ago. And yes, the conclusion to the original plot with Mania will be coming. It's basically ignored until later in the Space Knight run. Last thing I want to bring up is that this is going to be a shorter than normal episode due to a production issue on our part. And we had to make a decision between making 2 shorter episodes for the next 2 Sundays or skipping one of them. I chose to break it into 2 to give you 2 shorter episodes, but I want your honest opinion. If this happens again, would you rather a longer episode and then a skipped day, or a broken up episode that you'll get weekly? For Flash, life hasn't been very simple with his 2 new jobs. The first involves him fighting alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy. The second, though, being an agent of the cosmos, is a little more complicated. In the current times, Flash begins to rip apart giant alien crabs, and 803 radios down telling him that he's not sure why they stopped on this wreck of a planet anyway. After stabbing into another crab, Flash tells him that he heard a cry for help in his head. Again. And as that last crab is destroyed, the native aliens all praise Flash for his help. But before long, it begins to rain, and one of the aliens says that it's heat rain. It burns! Flash quickly expands the Venom symbiote to create a giant bubble and asks the alien where is their village. One mentions that it's down the river, so Flash pushes the bubble into the river and lets it float on. Inside the bubble, Flash says that he heard someone calling for help. What exactly is going on here? Another alien says that the Forma are normally docile creatures, but since the drill came and took away their food, they've been attacking everyone. Flash asks, what drill? And as they get to the village, the alien leads him to a rock ledge. Down in the valley, they see a giant mechanical drill, and the alien says that he's not sure why it's here, but there's no one in it, and every so often green canisters fly into the sky filled with the Forma's food. Flash tells him he's got this, and he radios over to 803. Seconds later, Flash's ship swoops down from space and blasts the drill, destroying it. As Flash gets on board, the aliens all praise him for his help, calling him a god. He sits down at the command seat, and 803 asks if he's a god now, and Flash responds telling him just to get them out of there. 803 tells him right away, oh, by the way, we may be trapped. Outside the ship is a giant war cruiser. Before they can fly back to the planet, the cruiser begins to pull them in with a tractor beam. And as the ship docks, Flash hops out and begins to search, and then he calls out that he knows someone's there. An alien jumps down screaming and swinging at Flash, but Flash dodges them and moves away. The alien begins to move in for a second attack, but Flash reaches out grabbing a pipe, asking if they like baseball. With no answer, he cracks the alien in the head, telling him that he guesses not. As the alien stumbles back, Flash calls out that he's pretty sure Clintar are supposed to be peaceful. So he's going to assume that they've got a real nasty piece of work underneath that symbiote. The alien begins to change its arms into blades and tells him, you have no idea! The alien lunges forward, and then a voice calls out, telling them all it's enough. Another Clintar steps out, explaining that his name is Mintrel, and her name is Tarna. And like him, they are agents of the cosmos. Tarna shouts that he can't be one of them, he's too weak! Barely in sync with his Clintar! And Flash says they may have been getting along pretty well since they've been cleansed and things are going well with them. Aside from the voices in his head now, Mintrel tells him that they're not voices, that is the cosmos, and it is their job to answer it. He goes on saying that they have been testing him to see if he's worthy, and he's done rather exceptionally. Tarna adds, adequate, at best! And Flash says that we're all gonna be best friends now, aren't we? As Tarna leaves saying he's just a waste of time, Flash tells Mintrel that he was just on a planet that was being tapped for fuel with some intense tech. Know anything about it? And Mintrel tells him no, but it is possible that the Rogue may be the same person whose chemical weapons they've been intercepting. Flash boards his ship and asks if it's all connected, and Mintrel says yes. That's why they need him, to find out who's behind all of this. As he leaves, Mintrel adds that Tarna is in charge of training, so if he needs her, just call. She will most definitely probably not answer. Elsewhere on the barren planet, reports begin to come in that they have a lock on the ship that destroyed the drill. One of the aliens asks Lord Merkio for his orders, and he tells them to find their most vile creature in the holding cells and have them follow this so-called Venom. Flash continues his travels, stopping by many planets, helping those in need. And just as he finishes up on the last one and decides that it's time for a break, he gets another call. He says hopefully it's a place where people like high fives or something. And so he flies down to see a volcanic planet with lava flowing everywhere, and he says a giant planet of lava and fire also works, he guesses. 803 mentions that since Clintars are vulnerable to fire, they do have some rumble suits in the back that might help him get on the planet. Flash gets into one of the suits and grabs a rifle, realizing that this will probably work. 803 stops him, telling him, actually, the planet's atmosphere is too volatile to allow gunfire, so you would need to go with this crude weapon instead. Flash looks at the chest and happily tells 803 to open the pod. He's got himself a sword! Seconds later, Flash jumps out of the ship, landing in a river of lava, and 803 radios that he only has 30 minutes in that suit down there. He notices a woman running towards him and he radios back to hang on. He's about to be ambushed, but the alien calls out in her native language, and the suit begins to translate, and what she's saying is that he will bow before her, Inca, Queen of the Wuggen. Flash defends himself, telling her that he missed the first part there, but either way, his name is Flash Thompson. Nice to meet her. Inca swings away, saying that he speaks their word, Flash Thompson. He is one of the usurpers who have come to destroy their world. As Flash holds his arm out, he tells her that he's not one of the usurpers. Actually, he's there to help. Any chance that she can take him to the usurpers? Inca steps back and tells him fine, she will take him there, but any false movements and she will eat his skull. And Flash tells her that that's fair. A short walk later, Inca points out to her warriors who are fighting the beings known as the Underdwellers who live inside of the Great Eye. Since something landed inside of the Great Volcano, the Underdwellers have been attacking, thinking that they are there to destroy their home, which all they want to do is help. Flash tells Inca that he needs to get up there so that he can get inside of the Great Eye and get this whole thing sorted out. And Inca says fine. To the battle then! Along with the Wuggen warriors, Flash fights his way through the Great Eye, and 803 radios that he's pretty sure the suit won't handle much more, especially jumping into a pit of lava. Flash tells him that he's going to go radio silent for a bit, and 803 asks, if you don't return, do I at least have permission to fly into the nearest star? Flash leaps in and says, no, you have permission to live forever and write epic songs about me. As Flash swims through, he finds a device planted in the volcano's core and destroys it. He reaches his hand back out and Inca grabs him and kisses him, telling him that he always has a place here in her husband's stable. Flash responds, telling her that he may have to take a rain check on that. And back up on his ship, he hops out of the rumble suit, telling himself he just kissed an alien. Totally didn't know that that was on his bucket list. Besides, that rumble suit worked like a charm. No sooner does he say that than the suit falls apart. 803 asks, you were saying? 803 then mentions, I have something that I would like to give you if you would be so kind as to head to the med bay. Flash heads over there asking what did he want to show him, and 803 says that it is not a song. He has made him a pair of legs. A short while later, Flash sets himself up on the prosthetic legs and says that he's going to need a cane while he figures these things out. He then thanks 803 and realizes something and asks a very important question. Who's flying the ship? 803 brings Flash back to the control room and tells him that it's the Clintar. And Venom looks back, telling Flash, it's probably time that we had a talk. Now, the reason we decided to break issues 2 through 6 up is because while this is one continual story, they are like single individual storylines, so it's kind of like an episodic kind of a situation. It is fun though, and I enjoy it, and we'll be bringing you the second half of this part next week. But let me know down below. This is a huge status quo change for Venom. What do you guys think about it? Do you like him in space? Do you like him as a space warrior? Do you like the Clintar talking? And do you like Venom being a Clintar? I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel to keep up to date as to what's happening in the Venom storylines as we cover them. And don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Comicstorian.